Hello everyone, Mollusk here, and today we're bringing you the first recorded fantasy game with my Beastmen. We're not playing any special rules or scenario because, to be honest, it's hard enough for a simpleton like me to get my goats moving in the right direction. Okay, so deployment. I deployed like this. My idea was to try to draw his army down the channel between those two buildings, keeping out of range of his large crossbowman unit. Attempt to chaff up the centre with my razor gores and ungor, and then try to manoeuvre into a flank charge with either the Minotaur or the big gore horde. My thinking here was that the ungor could march out of the building, which would protect them on the first turn, and cause a nuisance to themselves in the centre. That was incorrect, as we'll see later. I also had planned, I didn't measure it, but I'd also looked at that building ahead from the Minotaurs and thought to go in there and pop out the other side and get his archer unit. But that didn't quite work out either, as we'll see. And here's what my battle line looked like from the front. So often you don't see what the front of your models look like. And this is how he deployed. So his archers are in the cemetery, then next to the Cold One Knights, then the Charybdis, then the chariot. The shades have ambushed or infiltrated into that building, and the Dark Riders are running around the building on the right. I gave him the first turn because I wanted to try to... didn't really want to be running at the into charge range of the big more scary monsters and into range of the crossbowmen. So he moved up, as you see, and is again trying to do a similar thing to me, is to draw me out so he can take me apart, basically. In the magic phase, he got off the spell, I think, that takes down the Minotaur's toughness by 2. I tried everything, threw all the dispel dice, but couldn't stop it. And he also got off... Oh, right, so this was the movement, initiative, and whatever else, weapon skill, etc. of the Minotaurs going down by 1. And this was the toughness of the razor gore going down by 2. And this is the thing I chucked all my dice at to try to stop, and couldn't do it. Ooh, bit of a blurry picture there. His shade shot at the ungor in a building and killed 1. And they were fine. Unfortunately, the Dark Rider shot at the ungor. The shade shot at the razor gore and killed it, which was sad. I had big plans for that razor gore. And that meant that some leadership checks need to be passed. So we rolled for the ungor and they failed their leadership test, but apparently being in the building makes them stubborn, so that was fine. The big gore unit failed their leadership on, I think it might have been an 8. I know what I said about that before. And then we re-rolled it and they stuck on a 7 because of the battle standard bearer. So that could have been the first turn. All the goats run away. So luckily that was averted. And it ended as you see there. So my next turn, I shuffled the gore unit just around a bit so that the Dark Riders couldn't get into my flank, if that was what they were planning to do. I doubt they would have done that, but just trying to close down that flank. The razor gore marched ahead to try to chaff up the Cold One Knights and stop them from charging the Minotaurs. So I've positioned it here to try to draw them off the line of the Minotaurs so that they expose their flank, and so that if they kill the Razorgore, when they kill the Razorgore, they don't overrun the Minotaurs. I didn't achieve that very well. As you can see, when they hit that Razorgore, they're just going to be facing directly at the Minotaurs. I needed to position it the other way around, I think, and try to get them to have to face inwards and get in the way of the Charybdis and the chariot, and maybe charge my Gore unit rather than the Minotaurs. I think that was a bit difficult to achieve without leaving a big gap for them to get through and charge the Minotaurs anyway, but that's the kind of thing I need to do. So in the magic phase, I tried to cast Wussan's Wild Form on the Minotaurs, but my opponent dispelled it, and then I failed to cast the Savage Beast on the Minotaur Gorball. I wasn't rolling very well at this point in the game, and that, I think I fired the Ungor at the Dark Riders, but as you might expect, they didn't do anything. One did hit. So in his go, he charged the Cold War Knights at the Razorgore, and I think we all know how that's going to go. And shuffled up a little bit more with his Charybdis and Chariot. And I can't tell if the Dark Riders have moved. Maybe they have. In the magic phase, he pumped out the large version of Pit of Shades on the Minotaurs. I couldn't stop it, and luckily it scattered and only took one Minotaur off. So yeah, whew. This is to show the absence of Ungor. So when on the first turn I found that I couldn't just charge them out to get in the way of the Dark Riders and the Chariot, I moved them out of the building on this side, ready to do that in subsequent turns, and the Shades in the building opposite, this one, had no problem in just slaughtering them all. So goodbye, Ungor. I wasn't too bothered about that, as it meant that they weren't shooting at other things like my Gore unit. And okay, so the Cold War Knights obliterated the Razorgore and charged headlong into the Minotaurs, which was a shame. That's what I've been trying to avoid, but oh well. So in my turn, I decided that things weren't going to go well. They just weren't. There was very little I could see that my Gore Horde could have done to the scary monster and the Chariot, and then having the Dark Riders hit them in the back. I just knew that wasn't going to go well, and I really hate those Cold War Riders. So in we go. We're going to get rid of those damnable Elves. So I know in my heart this isn't going to go well. I know what this unit can do now. I've played it a couple of times, and it doesn't disappoint. They count as charging because they charge the Minotaurs. So these little pansy bastards are all strength 6. The champion challenged, and I made a major boo-boo here. I accepted with my mage. So I think in the magic phase I had gotten off Wissen's wild form on the Gauze and failed Savage Beast on the Minotaur guy. And so he was toughness 5. I wanted my Gorbel to be hitting the rank and file of the unit. For some reason, he's got a lot of attacks. I thought maybe he could take down more than one guy, and I wanted the rest of the unit to be hitting him. So I didn't want to accept a challenge with him. I forgot that my Gore unit has a champion, and the whole point of him is to stop the shaman getting challenged out. I'm such an idiot. So the Gold 1 champion guy hit the shaman at strength 6 and wiped the floor with him. And then the Gold ones proceeded to demolish the Minotaurs. They did 10 wounds, and obviously I get no saves. And again, so I made a huge mistake. Well, maybe not as big as that last one, but I was thinking, oh, okay, so right, he's allocating wounds on my unit. That means he's not attacking my Gorbel. And I forgot that I could just allocate wounds onto the Gorbel and his armor. 2-up armor save. I could have maybe taken 3 hits on him. Saved a Minotaur, perhaps. Yeah. So we lost just a load of Minotaurs, and the Cold One on the flank facing the Gore. Just because it could kill 2 of them, and that wasn't really that bad, I guess. But you know, of the hits he could allocate, he got the Gores. In return, I think the Gorbel killed a guy. I don't know if the Gore maybe they must have done. They must have killed one, at least one. That was something like 15 attacks. Perhaps should have been more. Actually, looking at that. Oh well. We must have taken down one guy with those. And the Minotaurs in the front rank, well, the only rank that's left, took down the rest of them that you see there. So, leaving 3. So I brought great weapons with them this time, and that really makes a difference. That strength 5 against 2-up saves is just nothing. So yeah, we lost combat. Would you believe it? But we stuck thanks to the reroll from the battle standard bearer, and yeah, but we've lost frenzy. So curse you, elves! So, failing to wipe out the Cold Ones left me in a bit of a pickle. The rest of his army charged in, well, apart from the archers, and the Gore had to take a terror test, which they passed, and then because they'd successfully passed it, they had to re-roll it because of the nasty gribbly things special rule, and they failed it. So that whole horde ran away. Luckily the Charybdis didn't catch them, and they bounced out behind the Minotaurs. So the whole reason for taking the shaman with the shrieking blade was that they wouldn't run away from things like that. But I challenged him out. So, oh my dear, oh dear. So obviously we lost our banner when we ran away. Let's just revisit that Cold One fight. That Cold One unit, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have anything particularly special in it. Costs about 330 points. That Minotaur unit alone, with the Gorbel, costs about 600 points. With the Gore and the, you know, that is my army. Minus 140 points for my chaff. And those Cold Ones won that combat. Oh my goodness. Anyway. So the Gauls running away wasn't actually that bad, I think. They didn't take any casualties, well, apart from their banner. And it meant that none of those units were then in combat. And that means that I have a decent chance now against those Cold Ones. So, I think the mage cast Occam's Mind Razor on the Cold Ones and suffered a miscast, which made her drop down to a level 2 and forget Occam's and some other spell, possibly the toughness spell, I can't remember, but it wasn't really important. The battle is not going to go on for that much longer. Oh, what's going on here? No idea. I think he might just be repositioning his models after we extracted that giant Gore unit. So, yes, so here's what it looks like once the Gores had bounced through the Minotaurs. So, my turn. The Gore rallied. They rallied. It was all a feint, after all. The Minotaurs, I think they may have taken another wound, but they killed those Cold One Knights in the combat phase of, I think it was the previous combat phase. So, whatever else happens in this battle, I'm happy. Those knights have been clobbered good after dishing out a ridiculous amount of damage. But they're dead. That's all that matters. And my Minotaurs charge the Charybdis, I believe. So they charge in, they bravely pass their fear test, but then they have to re-roll it, and they fail. And you can't re-roll that re-roll because of the banner, so they failed it and they're now needing 6s. The Gorbel doesn't do anything. He can't get through the toughness, especially not with needing 6s to hit. I think the Charybdis does... Oh, that's right, the Charybdis directs all his attacks at the Gorbel, who only just survives. He rolled 1. I think he took 4 wounds and rolled a 6 to save himself. And the other Minotaur actually managed to wound the mighty serpentine monster. So we lost combat. And we ran away. So, because the Gorbel's got a stand bearer, he just dies. Which I can see why you might not want to put all the points into a battle standard bearer that I did there. So the Minotaur runs away, pops out the other side of the Gore, and the Charybdis charges on in. So they're leapfrogging each other. Tactical withdrawal, I think it's called. Yeah. So in my opponent's turn, everything crashes into the Gore. they would have stood there, taken it all, and given it back in some kind of heroic last stand, but they just got a little bit scared of that Charybdis, and they all ran away. And the Charybdis caught them and killed them all. So that's 38 gore. Well, 37 maybe, because the standard bearer's gone. No one should have to remove that many models at once. Just brutal. So I think it overran, hit the Minotaur. The Minotaur ran away a little bit more, but was still on the board. And in my turn, the Minotaur failed its morale check and ran all the way off the board. The lone survivor of the Dark Elf slaving, raiding party. And yeah, so that was game. Tabled. So probably not the Beastmen's finest hour. A few generalship issues I'll take credit for there. But when Games Workshop writes about these thousands of Gors, this great hairy horde charging from the Drakwold to meet the blades of these tired, ramshackle peasant levies, and then they all get slaughtered and run away for the trees. This is what actually happens. Games Workshop has masterfully crafted the game to reflect the background, at least in these, at least with the Beastmen, fantastically. This is, fluff happening right before your eyes. So I had a really good time playing this game. I really enjoyed playing my Beastmen, and I liked my plan. I liked what I was trying to do. It didn't work, and I made lots of mistakes. But I had a really good time, and I kind of feel bad for my opponent. It's can't be nice giving someone else a face beating quite like this. I mean, you must feel bad for the other player. Not that I've had that experience too often, but yeah. No, I hope I showed that I was enjoying myself as much as I was, and yeah, looking forward to the rematch. It's part of what makes the game fun for me, trying to find a way to make this army work and get a victory one day. And I'm getting there, Unit of Cold One Knights today, maybe 2 units at once in one game, the next tomorrow. So we'll continue this saga of going from being a lowly Ungor level general to maybe one day the lofty heights of Jabberslide or something. But yes, so hope this was entertaining, or I'm sure it wasn't useful. But yeah, thanks for watching. In Flambert's fields the Beastmen lie, in piles of corpses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the harpies sadly singing fly, scarce heard amid the elves below. We are the dead, short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flambert's fields.